former college basketball great, knows his stuff. Get out here, Gottlieb. I got a question for you. So I started my show saying about the LaVar Ball Basketball League. I'm tired of everybody bashing college basketball. The Warriors and the Rockets and a lot of these teams, all these good teams that have these really smart players, they all went to college for 3 years. So do most of the legends in the NBA. By the way, John Wall, Boogie Cousins, Carmelo Anthony, Andrew Wiggins, guys, Anthony Davis, I think should be better and aren't. We're one-and-done guys. But let's go to the LaVar Ball Academy thing. Does it make any sense to you?
No. It's not only it's a bad idea, but it's a poorly thought out one as well, right? This is one to which, if it was a pitch, like, okay, like you've watched Shark Tank before, right? All right, so give me the idea. He said, well, I got 10 teams, 80 guys, 8 guys a team. For professional basketball, you can't field. There's a reason they have 15 guys in a roster.
Right.
Okay, you can't, a 48-minute game, which is what he proposed, in NBA arenas, you can't have 8 dudes on your bench because there'll never be 8 dudes on your bench. Honestly, if I was Lonzo, and Lonzo said last night, and look, he's going to support his dad, this would be the most offensive thing and the most bothersome thing that he said, because he said it's going to be sponsored by Big Baller Brand, which is Lonzo's money, or at least mostly based upon Lonzo's success, and some of it is Lonzo's money. And this will not just be a money loser. This will be a massive money loser. Like, minor league basketball loses money.
Yes.
Women's professional basketball
WNBA
loses money.
With ESPN support, with the NBA support, loses money.
Correct.
XFL, USFL died.
Right, and it's not like there's some yearning for more basketball. No one's ever said, you know what I need? I need more basketball on TV, right? I mean, like, look, I love college. FS1, we got tons of college basketball. I love it. We had some good games last night. On ESPN, they had the upset of North Carolina losing to Wofford.
Yeah.
There's no value in it. And when I hear somebody he's never run a basketball event. Remember, he's put his team, he never run a basketball event. He never truly run a business. He hasn't been to business school. Like, he's just going to start writing checks, and this is all based upon Lonzo. They're more likely to be broke than they are to see success out of this league if he sees it through. And remember, Lonzo said last night that my dad's been thinking of this for a couple months. You've been thinking for a couple months, and nobody pulled you aside and said, like, hey, man, listen, if you really want to make it work, you got to have probably 12 guys in a team. You got to bring in other sponsors. You got to bring in some heavy hitters, maybe a Google, maybe an Apple, maybe a Yahoo, maybe an Amazon. Like, he's like, no, we're going to do it all ourselves. Like, this sounds like a terrible men's league. And the thing about terrible men's league is nobody watches it, nobody cares, and nobody gets any better. Where, as you pointed out, college basketball works. It's always worked.
I don't get this thing now. We're beating up. I had Ralph Sampson on yesterday, and Ralph Sampson's like, I came to college at 190. I left at 250. Like, why is it? Like, well, give me something you learned at college, Notre Dame and Oklahoma City. Like, my thing is, I was just not ready to work. I was immature. I was a zit-faced loser. Like, I needed college to grow up.
Well, obviously, I needed college to grow up.
Yeah.
Right? But let's just start in basketball, okay? I thought I was well prepared to play college basketball.
Yeah.
My dad was a head coach in major college basketball at Jacksonville and UW-Milwaukee. I had played for him since I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Okay? My high school coach, Andy Ground, is the head coach at Saddleback Junior College. They've won state championships. So I was as well coached and well prepared as you will get. And I got to Notre Dame, and I didn't know anything, okay? I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to play hard. I didn't know how to run an offense, how to use a screen. I didn't know how to defend. I started college at 160. I played my first game at 177. Like, you had to learn to truly weight train. I mean, there's all things that and then there's the social aspect of college. But the thing I think that we lose most is, my belief is you have to learn not just to be a good teammate, how to prioritize basketball, school, girls, friendships, all those other things. It's also really important, and the thing we've taken away with the one-and-dones is not just investment in team, but in learning how to dominate at your level, right? Like, a lot of these kids, DeAndre Jordan is a success story as a one-and-done, but he was terrible at Texas A&M, and he's never developed a post game. He has no offense. And had he stayed at Texas A&M and developed under Mark Turgeon, he might have been a much more refined prospect. We're skipping steps, and it becomes...
It's like child celebrities. You skip steps.
Correct.
A kid needs to be a kid.
Well, the perfect example of this is Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's career is probably a Hall of Fame career, but he never has truly accomplished anything he's never reached his potential. He has no post game. He also socially he's always been awkward, right?
Yes.
You put a boy into a man's
Kobe
world.
to the end was socially awkward.
Kobe was socially awkward. Kobe had a lot of holes in his game. And now listen, Kobe comes from a background where he was raised overseas. He had an NBA dad. Like he had a lot of things, and he's exceedingly bright.
Yeah.
So he succeeded in spite of it. But a lot of these guys socially don't fit in. They don't know how to manage their money. They don't know how to manage their time. But in terms of basketball, there are holes in their game to which are shored up by the Tom Izzo's, the Roy Williams, the Mike Krzyzewski's, the Bill Selfs of the world, that if you give them time and you invest yourself in it, you're going to be better because of it. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you have a fallback if it doesn't work out in hoops.
Jason Kidd, a great player, was quoted yesterday saying, I thought it was very interesting. He says, if it wasn't for the shoes, these guys in the NBA wouldn't even know who Michael Jordan is. And I was thinking, he said, if it wasn't for the shoes, they would not know who MJ is. Here we have the quote from Jason Kidd, who played, of course, in the Michael Jordan era. And it got me to thinking that in terms of relevance, we now have a league being filled with LeBron kids over MJ kids.
You know what's interesting is how many kids are coming up now named Shaq, now named Jalen, and they'll be named Kobe, right?
Right.
Like, it's interesting that, like, we've now gotten to the point where our friends are naming their kids after people that they liked playing sports.
Right.
Right. So I'm sure there'll be some Odells a lot more Odells in the very near future. Right. I think he might be exaggerating a little bit because I do think kids grow up watching YouTube and they watch Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And the commercials are still relevant. And Jordan's, it's not black and white basketball. It's not the 1960s. It's not Bob Cousy dribbling around with only his right hand.
But it is interesting that Lonzo, the L.A. kid, grew up as a LeBron fan. Not Magic, not Kobe, not MJ.
Well, Magic, we're talking early 90s.
Yeah.
When was he born? Like, just do the math in terms of relevance. But it's also important for us in terms of TV. Like, people who use Caddyshack references, like Caddyshack, and even Old School is, in fact, an old school reference. You got to use Deadpool as references nowadays.
Right.
So I do think it's interesting that if you talk old school basketball with a lot of these NBA players, young NBA players, they think Kobe and Shaq and Tracy McGrady, like that's old, and Allen Iverson is old school hoop. They don't think of Jordan. They don't think of Ewing. They don't think of Barkley. Those are just guys that they now see on TV that their parents and grandparents tell them were great.
By the way, if you look at a lot of these dynasties in the NBA, they got lucky in the draft. They found a guy in the second round, Draymond Green, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, or somebody like Steph, Clay fell in the draft. Larry Bird got drafted a year before he came out, like 6. Kobe fell to 13th. Sometimes you have to get lucky. I'm watching the Lakers. I think they stole the player in the draft with Kyle Kuzma.
No question. Kyle Kuzma has been now
shocking.
It's a couple things. It's important to point out that Kyle Kuzma's 22.
Yeah, he is. That's a big thing.
You know, it's a lot like Ben Simmons is probably going to be the rookie of the year if not for Kyle Kuzma.
Right.
Ben Simmons had a year to redshirt, right? A year to develop.
Yeah.
In addition to his year at LSU.
But Kyle's physically an NBA player.
Not just that, but a lot of the most recent success stories, the Isaiah Thomases, Draymond Greens, they're also tweeners, right? Isaiah Thomas is really a 2 in a mini point guard's body. Draymond Green is a 5 who's in a 3's body. Remember, he lost a bunch of weight when he came to the NBA. Kuzma's a late bloomer, a guy who had academic issues and before ending up at Utah and played for an NBA coach. Utah has a fantastic personal trainer. But I heard you say that Lonzo changed the culture of the Lakers, is that what you said earlier?
Yeah, I think he's a culture changer. He is Steph, but passing. Their assist numbers are through the roof.
No question, but I also think a lot of that is they got rid of cancerous D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
Okay, D'Angelo Russell was a cancer. Wouldn't work hard, wouldn't buy in, was all about himself, all about his numbers, not about winning. They've taken Luol Deng off the active roster. They didn't think he was necessarily about winning. They've gotten young players, and they have changed the culture. And I do think that when your point guard is somebody who would prefer to pass as opposed to score, selfishness and unselfishness are like the flu, right? You have it, everybody else has it. It spreads.
No question.
It's especially in basketball. But Kyle Kuzma, 38 on the road. It's not just that he's an incredibly hard worker. They got done with Summer League. Everybody else went on vacation. Kyle Kuzma got back in the Lakers practice facility. It's also that they've evaluated his ability to play kind of the stretch 4. And so I think some of it is guys are undervalued because of their lack of size at their true NBA position. Some of it is their work ethic. Some of it is the time that they spent developing their all-around game in the NBA. And some of it is proper evaluation by the Lakers. Now they've drafted well, as opposed to the previous regime drafted poorly and paid free agents that weren't valuable poorly.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from the newest show on FS1, First Things First, with Chris Carter and Nick Wright.